Well, good morning, everybody. I hope you're all doing fantastically well. I hope you've rested up and you're feeling a little bit better after that result against Bournemouth. Leeds holding the top four side before the weekend started to a draw. Leeds' XG 2.67 to that of Bournemouth's of 1.14. Really good performance from the Whites, I have to be honest with you. And today we're talking about the 5 things that we learned from that Premier League match. Let me know your 5 things, as always, everybody, every Sunday morning in the comment section below. So now, in the light of day, it is a good result, isn't it? I mean, flipping heck, Bournemouth. I was trying to say this yesterday on the match review, but it's compartmentalising it in 2 different ways. At that moment in time, in the 93rd minute, you've got to see that game out and you've got to win the game effectively. The other side of me is like, if you'd have given me a point before the game and a performance like that, I'd have absolutely snapped your hand off. And I thought Leeds were well worth the win yesterday. I think, you know, contextualising the game as such, I thought Bournemouth were quite lucky to get back into it. I thought we restricted them really, really well. I think there's things that Leeds need to improve on, but I think when you're looking at the competitiveness of the side, yes, you know, there's an unfortunate event that's happened at Fulham, an unfortunate event that's happened at Bournemouth, but I think there's in terms of conceding in that last 5 minutes, I mean, I guess it's 2 or 3 minutes, isn't it, really? So Leeds have got to get around that. That has to stop, because you're going to lose a lot of points doing that. But overall, when you look at the context of the game, yes, people will say it's 1 point out of Bournemouth and Fulham, but you have to throw in the Wolves game in there as well. And I think when you look at these block of games, if you'd have said to me Leeds are going to get 4 points out of 9, I'd have been more than happy with that. I think I said we had to get 4 points in 9 as well. So really happy with that. And there's a lot of, as I say, mention that word again, that the context you have to look at when it comes to these 3 games. I think in all of them, Leeds have been really good. We've been really competitive. And I was proud yesterday, you know, coming off looking at the lads coming off the pitch. And I guess this isn't really part of the 5 things, but you got to give context before getting into it. I think it's a really good result for Leeds. I think it's a gutting that we didn't get it at the time, similarly to that of Fulham. You know, you go down to Fulham, it's 0-0, you come out there with a point. We didn't manage to do that, but it is what it is, everybody, and we move on. But let's get into the 5 things. Number 1, anyway, I think with set pieces, and obviously Leeds have conceded 3 now in as many games. I think that's something that we've got to bear in mind. And it's 3 goals from set pieces in 3 weeks now. What we need to look at is that can't be a weakness. I don't know what happened with this set piece coach. Leeds were apparently getting a set piece coach in. Farke then mentioned in his press conference that he's one of his sort of assistants who focuses on set pieces. Well, that's not a set piece specialist. That's just one of the set piece coaches who's maybe looking at set pieces a little bit more. Sunderland, I know, as a comparison, have got a set piece coach in this week, and then they scored from a set piece yesterday and we're pretty good at defending them. I just think it's a really useful tool for Leeds United to go and get a set-piece coach right now. I think, interestingly enough, when you look at someone like Bijol, who is on the bench, I mean, he led in Europe last season for clearances. What I would say is, if you're not going to utilise him from the start, I'd say maybe there is an option if Leeds are maybe going to defend, to go into a 3 at points, which isn't going to be a back 3, it's going to be a back 5. Sticking Bijol on, we know he's very good on the ball as well. But in terms of those balls coming into the box and Leeds having to defend their area, my first thing is, I think someone like him coming on would improve this Leeds United side from defending certain set pieces. As I say, you've got a weapon on the bench who is extremely good at defending his own box, especially from set pieces. I'd be definitely looking at that. So that's the first thing. I think number 2, everybody, is look, I'm not, there's things you guys know as well with Farke. Sometimes I get a bit aggravated at bits and bats that he says maybe, or that he does on the pitch. Throwing Jack Harrison on yesterday, I thought was an interesting move, when I thought there was a couple of other changes he could have made. I thought Tanaka should have come on at halftime. I thought, you know, we're saying on the stream, a lot of people were saying Bijol should have come on when they were just lumping the ball into the box towards the end. But overall, I think Farke has done a really good job so far in the Premier League, I have to be honest. Aside from the Arsenal game, where I was very critical of him, of his setup, having Gruev in there and Peru up front and trying to play out from the back and then mixing that up with long ball, I think he's done really, really well. I think he's coached us in a really effective way. And I think you have got to give him praise. I think overall, what we're doing is looking at ourselves. That's the big problem in this game. We've drawn to Bournemouth, who are an aggressive, pressy, incredible team, I feel, on transition. Very quick, very good. You know, technically proficient everywhere. I think every single player in that team is able and is capable and has that level to be playing the ball on one touch in the Premier League. I think you've got to give Farke some credit. I think he managed the game very well yesterday. And we're all talking about Leeds. It's, oh, well, we should have done this. We shouldn't have gone back into this zone. We shouldn't have been, you know, defensive from this moment onwards. We're playing Bournemouth. You know, this is a top team. It's a top team at this level who I probably think are going to finish in the top 6, 7, who've beaten Wolves, who've beaten Spurs, who've beaten Brighton this season. You know, what about the opposition? Look at who we're facing right now. You're managing against that is extremely difficult with an inferior team. You know, you look at that starting 11, you look at who they brought off the bench again, you know? And I think when we're looking at Fulham and we're looking at Bournemouth as these two teams where we've dropped points in the last 5 minutes, I think probably both of them are going to finish in the top 10. I don't think they're games of which we should be targeting solely. I think we should be getting points, and we have got a point yesterday. But I think we all know the games that we should be targeting. I think so far for Leeds United in the Premier League, we've done really well. So we've got 8 points out of 6, but we've not really played many teams in that bottom half yet. If you look at it in terms of where they're going to finish, in my opinion, I think you look at Arsenal, I think top half. I think Everton top half, Newcastle top half. I think Fulham top half. I think, you know, Bournemouth top half. You know, they played a lot of teams who are going to be in that top half, in my opinion, at the end of the season, or when it comes to my prediction. So I think you've got to give Farke a lot of credit. I think you've got to give the players a lot of credit as well. It's fine margins, but we have shown that we can compete at this level now, and I think that's really important. I think number 3, everybody, is Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and we need to touch on Dominic Calvert-Lewin a little bit, don't we? I think he's just been absolutely brilliant for Leeds United. The last 2 games as well, in particular. Obviously, the Fulham game he didn't start, but he had that wonderful headed down near assist for Longstaff's belter against the bar. These are fine margins we're talking about. You know, that one that we hit the bar on against Fulham, the one yesterday where DCL's through on goal in the first 20 seconds. These have got to be put away. However, what I will say, everybody, is I'm so happy with his performance. As someone said to me yesterday on the watch, they said, Connor, his job is to score goals. It's not. It's really not. It's to hold the ball up. It's to win free kicks. It's to get Leeds up the pitch. And I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin is doing so well. He's a root for Leeds right now. With Darlow's kicking, which I think, once again, yesterday with his left and right was very, very decent in terms of his long-range kicking, his accuracy. I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin is just such an out-ball, and when you're beating the likes of Totti and Agbedu in the air, it's 2 massive centre-backs, and then you're beating Diakite and Senesi, and I can't imagine what his aerial duel rate must have been yesterday. The only criticism I would have with Leeds is it's not on DCL, it's around the players around him. If you're playing the ball to him, they've got to be in and around him within at least 2 to 5 yards. If you're not, then he's going to win the header, and we're going to be at 6s and 7s because he's going to win the header and he's going to go straight back to Bournemouth. You've got to be in and around him, and I felt in the second half yesterday, Bournemouth were maybe a little bit cuter to that. Leeds are dropping a little bit deeper, and you don't want Dominic Calvert-Lewin completely isolated. That's why I really liked Okafor on with him yesterday. I thought every time DCL won it, Okafor was near his touch. That has to happen, but I thought DCL, I was told before he signed, he was never, ever, ever going to be a finisher, which is maybe what we need in the Premier League. But I was told he was never, ever going to be an out-and-out finisher. The words verbatim, I was told that if he's through one-on-one, he will not score. Literally verbatim, he will not score. But if the ball's in the air, you know, he'll put it in the back of the net. And I guess it's a tale of 2 games, isn't it? The brilliant header versus Wolves, where he had just 1 attempt, really. Ball was knocked into the box. It's a fantastic header, really hard chance, low on XG as well. Manages to convert that, but this is arguably an easier chance, and he scuffed it. And there's a couple of chances where he scuffed in that first half. He has to be more clinical, but I thought as a facilitator of play, Calvert-Lewin yesterday was brilliant again. I guess the caveat to that is, you know, when we look at him and when we look at the situation Leeds are in, if he gets injured, we're in a little bit of trouble, and that's kind of probably the only thing I'm a little bit worried about with DCL, because obviously he's not gone past around 20 games for 6 years. If we get him past 20 games, unbelievable, but we're going to need him to get past 20 games at this moment in time. I thought Goodmanson, I thought Bogle and Longstaff were absolutely exceptional as well. That's the 4th thing we learned. I think Longstaff is really getting better. I didn't think he was great against Wolves, but I thought the game before, you know, he was brilliant. I thought against obviously Newcastle, he was brilliant as well. But I thought he was everywhere yesterday. He was the best midfielder on the pitch, in my personal opinion. What I will say is about the midfield, in particular, on the 4th thing that we learned is I do think Farke was up against an absolute, you know, master of tactical nuance in Iriola. I've just praised Farke, but what I will say on the other side is I don't understand why he brought on Tanaka for Aronson. That didn't make a lot of sense. Tanaka's never played on the right. I thought it should have been maybe Tanaka for Anton Stack, and I thought as soon as you put Tanaka on that right hand side, I thought Bournemouth were getting a little bit more joy. It felt like they targeted that left hand side a little bit more. A lot more play started coming down Truefair's side, and Tanaka on that right hand side, you can't put him on there. I thought he should have been like for like with him in a central midfielder, and he was caught cold, wasn't he, for that free kick that led to the goal. But overall, good result, and yeah, Farke did really well yesterday. But I think he's sometimes got to think about these substitutions and how effective they can be at the right phases in the right positions. And I guess the last thing, everybody, is just taking our chances. The 5th thing that we learned yesterday, you have to take our chances. It felt very ominous as soon as DCL missed in the first 20 seconds. I did think to myself, oh, that's not a good sign, especially with this lot. And then there was a couple of chances after that, but that first chance in particular, we've got to take our chances. And the XG, as I mentioned earlier, it was up 2.47 or 2.67. And you thought to yourself, you know, you're going to get another chance like that again in the game. And obviously then Bournemouth scored with the first chance. I guess that is the lesson that we learned overall from yesterday, and we're learning in the Premier League right now. The teams are so good and they're so efficient and they're so quality that you've got to take those. And if you don't, you will be punished. So I guess that last lesson that we've learned is we have to take these chances, and it's not as obvious as in the Championship where you're getting more and more and more chances because you're dominating possession and controlling the game, because you're not. You know, you're not controlling, you're not dominating the game. You are hurting teams on transition, or you're getting into really good phases in transition. But I think it's about being really, really clinical, and as clinical as you can, to be able to get your team ahead and to be able to convert these chances, because it's going to be a really tough slog of a season if, you know, we're not taking these chances. And I think it's really important, and staying focused. The set piece thing is massive in my opinion. I think that's probably the biggest thing I took away. It's obviously been clinical, but it's the set pieces. You don't want to become that team known for conceding in stoppage time and set pieces, because, you know, mentality wise, you're going to get a little bit more nervous. It reminds me of when the team had Melia in there and they'd always get nervous when a ball had come into the box. It's maybe just that sort of understanding that we're a little bit vulnerable from set pieces. We don't want that to become a stigma. We don't want that to become a little bit of a thing. That has to be something we address, whether or not it's a set piece coach, whether it's bringing on different subs at different times. Anyway, guys, we're going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Are you happy? What's your reflection now? Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you so much for 50,000 subscribers again, everybody. And yeah, we'll see you tonight for the Hardline. Cheers.